What's going on YouTube? Now about a month ago we brought you all a review of the all-new A-Class, Mercedes' smallest and cheapest sedan. Traditionally, however, it's the class above that scores the best sales figures, so Mercedes also took the time to show some love to their best-selling sedan, the C-Class. That's why we're out at James Motor Company today, even though the weather is terrible, to show you guys all of the 2019 updates that this refresh brought. Of course, if you're in the market for any new Mercedes, be sure to stop by their dealership or visit them via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with all that said, let's see if the C can retain its spot at the top of the class. So starting out with the exterior styling, Mercedes didn't make any specific huge change, but it did freshen up the look with some revised pieces. As far as the grille designs, last year ended the luxury grille, so you continue to have sport and AMG lines to choose from on the C300. On the C43, it essentially adds the AMG line as standard, but with two matte silver bars on the grille instead of the one chrome bar. The lower bumper has also been revised across the lineup, and it is blacked out with the AMG night package. Another change is that LED headlights have now been added as standard equipment on every C-Class. On the C43 there are 6 distinct elements that all softly fade in and out, and this model's exterior lighting package adds adaptive abilities. Now as far as the side and rear, they haven't seen any real noticeable changes. That means you'll continue to find a design that is strongly influenced by the S-Class, as you can clearly see in the shape of the trunk and in the standard LED taillights. Of course, since this is the C43, you've got an aggressive rear diffuser to house your quad exhaust outlets versus the standard model's horizontal ones. But overall, the design has aged extremely gracefully. Especially in C43 form, this strikes all the right notes between sport and luxury. Now as a Mercedes, you'd expect to have plenty of customizations, and that is indeed the case for the wheels. What you're looking at are the optional 19-inch split 5-spoke alloys, one of 5 choices for the C43. The standard wheels are 18 inches and have that classic AMG look, while the others are all 19s. Coming up to the mirrors, they have standard heating, auto dimming, and power folding on the AMG, in addition to blind spot monitoring. They are also blacked out. And as far as the other active safety equipment, the C-Class gains even more of them for 2019. All models come standard with active brake assist, and then through the driver's assistance package, you can add active lane keeping assist and active BSM, both of which can steer you out of harm's way, as well as some semi-autonomous driving abilities. So all these things taken together do allow the C-Class to score the highest possible safety rating of Top Safety Pick Plus from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Now finally, the last thing to mention on the outside is the 17.4 gallon fuel tank. On the C43, that gives you the ability to travel 383 miles on a tank of premium unleaded fuel. But anyways, that's it for the exterior updates. So now let's see what changes have been made to the award-winning cabin. So every C-Class will come standard with this nice Mercedes key fob. And then on the C43 you have the standard keyless go system, however you have to option it on via the premium package for the C300. Finally, you do have a remote start system via the Mercedes Me app. Now to get inside the vehicle, it's very simple. All you have to do is reach behind the handle because there is a sensor, and when you do, your power mirrors will come out. Alright, so checking out the cabin of the refreshed C-Class, As you can see, the design itself has not really changed much, but that's a good thing because it's already one of the most upscale cabins in the class. Now, as far as colors and material choices, on the C43, you start out with MB Tech synthetic leather in only black. However, when you go up to the real leather like this model has, you get the options of black, cranberry red, or this new color option called saddle brown. Now, turning over to your trim pieces, you've got a lot of new options this year. So you can choose between gray oak, brown linden, natural walnut, or this black ash and aluminum combination. So you have the ash in the center console and then the aluminum on the door trim. And then finally you do have optional fiberglass or carbon fiber. Now, turning over here to your door trim, like I was saying, it is very upscale. So you've got some black leather for your armrest, as well as the color matching leather right here. Beautiful aluminum trim, and a leatherette trim across the top part. Now, of course, checking out your seats, you do have your Mercedes controls right here. On the C43, it is 14-way power adjusting as standard equipment, and you do also have 3-person memory seating for both the driver and passenger side. Heading up here, you have 3-stage heated seats as standard equipment, and we do have the optional seat ventilation. And then, of course, you do have 4 fully automatic windows. So like I was saying, this is the real leather seat. It feels very nice and high quality, has a very attractive stitching design, and I really do love this new color here. So since this generation of the C-Class came out, it really has set the benchmark for cabin design, and that does continue for this 2019 model. So on the C43 version, you've got a standard leatherette dashboard that can be optioned onto the C300 if you want. And then below that, you've got a big piece of aluminum trim that carries on behind the screen. Of course, the most signature element of the design is this whole center console being one flowing piece of wood, which looks really beautiful. And of course, all your lower areas are soft touch plastic, and everything that looks like real aluminum is real aluminum. Now, one of your other 2019 changes is you've got a new turbine design on your standard push button start. Now, when you press it on the C43, you're going to see this standard 10.25-inch display boot up. As you can hear right at startup, you already have that AMG influence. Now, these gauges are unique to the 43 AMG. So as you can see, there's like a little checkered texture in the middle of them. And this is the analog setup. However, for 2019, you can option on the 12.3-inch fully digital gauges if you prefer those. However, these, as you can see, are analog on the outside, but you still do have a 5.5-inch multifunction display here in the middle. And you can control that display with this touch button right here. So you can just scroll through your typical information, like your safety systems and fuel economy and whatnot. Additionally, there is an optional head-up display, which this specific model is not equipped with. Now, coming on back to the steering wheel here, this is one of the other 2019 updates, that you now get the most modern AMG steering wheel. As you can see, is right off of the higher end models. So you get the really thick rim, beautiful perforated leather, and then all this is real aluminum. So like I was saying, these buttons here are regarding your multifunction display as well as your cruise control. And then on this side, this is for your command screen right there, as well as your traditional phone, voice, and audio commands. Of course, right behind the shifter on the 43 AMG, you do have these really beautiful full aluminum paddle shifters. And we also have standard rain sensing wipers as well. As far as the steering wheel itself, it is power adjusting on the C43. However, you cannot get heating like you can on the C300. But anyways, moving on to interior storage, it does pretty well for itself despite being a relatively small vehicle. Starting out with your center console, it opens up your traditional split Mercedes way. As you can see, this is actually quite large, and you do have a nice felt lining in it. Additionally, you will find your 2 USB ports. Up in front of that, you can just click down on this, and this wood panel will slide out of the way to reveal your 2 cup holders, as well as a nice little space to stick your phone. Additionally, that does open up so you can stick some coins or something valuable to be hidden inside. Now, one of the reasons why we can have this storage as well as this space for the command controller is because Mercedes puts their shifter up here as a stock. So this operates in the typical Mercedes way. You're just going to push down for drive, and then for reverse, you just go back up to the top. When we go into reverse, you'll see a standard backup camera up here. However, this model has the parking assistance package, so we have the 360-degree camera here on the left side. And we can use our command controller to cycle through a few different views. So we have our rear and corner views, we have our 2 sides view, a front view, as well as a front corner view. And then for park, all you have to do is press the end of the stock. Now coming on down here, there are several buttons surrounding your command controller. So your first toggle is for your drive modes. You have several to choose from. So you've got slippery, comfort, sport, and sport plus modes. Plus you have an individual mode if you prefer that. And each of those things does change all of those characteristics, and you can customize that, like I said, with your individual mode. Back behind that, you've got your button that toggles on and off your manual mode. You've got your adaptive dampers and your traction control off button. Over on this side, you can manually trigger your 360 camera, turn on and off your auto start stop system, and since this model has the sport exhaust, we can toggle that on and off. And that just gives you an even deeper sound, and it sounds fantastic. Now the last control here is for our audio system. So in this particular model, we have the optional 590 watt 13 speaker Burmester premium audio system. So let's go ahead and take a sample. Sound quality of this system is excellent, as you would expect. Now moving on up, we do have a few shortcut buttons for your command system, as well as a classy analog clock here in the wood trim. And then above that, we have our dual zone automatic climate control setup. So you've got these little metal toggles that you can go up and down. They feel very nice in the hand, and this is very simple to use since all of your buttons are laid out right here. When you make an adjustment, it does additionally appear up here on the screen so you can see what you're doing. And then when you press that menu button there, it gives you a little bit of an overview of what the climate control system is doing. But anyways, now that brings us up here to our command system. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. So we're running a bit short on time here, so I'm just going to hit the highlights real fast of the command system. So obviously this is the command system and not the new MBUX system that just came out in the A-Class and the GLE. No word on whether that will be updated or not. Now on the controller, you can just press home, and then you can scroll on top of this pad, or you can use the wheel underneath. to go through various things on your home screen. Now heading into our navigation, this is an extra cost option on both the C300 and the C43. And as you can see, you've kind of got a satellite view until you zoom in real close, and then it defaults back to a regular view. You can go over to the side and change a few different settings as well. Now over here you have your Mercedes apps, the most important of which are both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They're both included, free for life, and they are on both the C300 with the smaller display and this model with the bigger display. Well, that pretty much concludes the main features of the Mercedes command system. However, we will have a dedicated tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more. A link to that will be provided in the video description. Now moving on up, we do have a standard auto dimming mirror with your built-in HomeLink universal remote on the bottom of it. Another nice option that this model comes equipped with is the power panoramic moonroof. So as you can see, it's kind of a dual panel setup. You've got your own in the back there with its own sunscreen, as well as a really huge one up here in the front. Now I'm not going to open it obviously since it is pouring rain, but rest assured it does open up so you still get that nice air experience. But anyways, the C43 AMG's interior is beautiful. Really, this gives you 90% of the experience of much more expensive models right here in your C-Class. And I really appreciate that. It is a fantastic cabin, definitely one of the top in the class. But anyways, now I'll go ahead and hand it off to Mason, who will finish up the rest of the cabin.
So checking out the rear seat of the 2019 Mercedes C43 AMG, you're going to find an extremely opulent area. As far as the rear legroom is concerned, it is rated at 35.2 inches of rear legroom and 37 inches of rear headroom, which does place it on par with the Audi A4 and BMW 3 Series. Now even though this is a C-Class, Mercedes definitely doesn't skimp on the rear door trim materials, so you do have a really nice leather padded armrest with color contrast stitching, as well as some beautiful brown leather here, and even on the upper portion. Now in addition to that, you do have some more of this beautiful aluminum trim, some speaker grills, and a fully aluminum automatic window. Now down below that, you do also have some door storage. And turning over here to the seat, it is that lovely design, so you have some more of that beautiful brown leather, and you also have color contrast stitching back here. Now here in the middle, Mercedes does give you plenty of features, so you will find these rear air vents across all trims of the C-Class. And down below that, you will also find a 12-volt power outlet. However, you will notice that rear seat heating is not available, unlike most in the class. Mercedes does also give you a nice armrest. It does fold down, and you have some storage inside with felt lining, and you do even have some pop-out cup holders. Now up top, this is one of my favorite features about the C43, and that's that it has this beautiful panoramic moonroof. A lot in the class will just give you this front portion, like the Audi A4. They call it a panoramic, but it doesn't include this rear portion right here. And this really just helps to air out the cabin. It really gives it a lovely vibe back here. And off to the left side of that, you will find an assist grip, as well as some LED lighting. Now as far as rear legroom is concerned, like I said, this is on par with most in the class. So behind rear seating position, I probably have 6 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up under the seat. Now over here with the seat scooted all the way back, space is a little bit more cramped, but I still have a few inches of rear legroom, which is very impressive. But overall, the rear seat of this C43 AMG is an amazing place to spend time. The materials back here really remind me of a class above, and there's tons of space and comfort for everyone in the family. Now coming around to the trunk of the C43 AMG, it is power, so all you have to do is locate this little button and it will open right up. Now as far as how much space is back here, you will find 12.6 cubic feet of space, which does put it behind the BMW 3 Series and right on par with the Audi A4. Now as you can see, we have put quite a bit of camera equipment back here, so this shows you just how much space it is back here. And it is finished really nicely in typical Mercedes fashion. So you do have a nice carpeted floorboard, and down below it, you do even have a little bit more storage. Off to the side, you do have a cargo net, and you can also fold the seats with this little button here. Now coming over to the passenger seat is that same beautiful design, and in typical Mercedes fashion, your door controls are over here. So all you have to do is locate these little buttons, and you will notice that it is 14-way power adjusting even here on the passenger side, and you do also have 3-person memory seat. Now in front of the passenger, you do have amazing materials, even though this is just a C-Class. So you have a leather wrapped dashboard down here, and you even have some more aluminum trim. And down below that, you will find a really large glove box, and it also is felt lined inside. And as you can see, there is some lighting, as well as a locking feature. Up top, you do have a nice sun visor. It does have some lighting, as well as a mirror, and it can also detach, and it does not have an extension. Well guys, that sums up all the rear areas of the C43 AMG. So now let's go ahead and check out the powertrain and see how it all comes down on the road.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk a bit about the powertrain. Now, of course, one of the biggest reasons why you're going to choose the 43 AMG is for that additional level of performance. And indeed you do get that here. You've got a 3-liter AMG enhanced twin-turbo V6. And that's going to be making 385 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque. That's up about 20 horsepower over last year, and that's a pretty big advantage over the current Audi S4.
Yeah.
I will go ahead and add in that the 2-liter turbo in the C300, that makes 255 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. We do have a 9-speed automatic transmission, and here in the C43 AMG, we have a performance 4MATIC all-wheel drive system. So what that basically is a permanent split, 69% of the power to the rear wheels and the other 31 up front. Finally, in regards to your fuel economy, you are rated at 19 city, 27 highway, 22 combined. That is a little bit of a penalty versus the C300, which would be rated at 22 city, 33 highway, 26 combined. But anyways, now let's go ahead and take this bad boy on a drive. Now we do have the optional AMG exhaust system. So if you want to have that activated at startup, you can just put it in the accessory mode and turn it on. Okay, we got it on. Now we can start it up. So it's definitely not the sound you expect from a V6 engine.
No.
Right off the bat, I'm definitely enjoying that burble, that kind of spit. Oh, it sounds really good.
And we are not even moving. We're not even touching the accelerator. We're just sitting here in 20-mile-an-hour traffic, but you still can definitely hear that wonderful exhaust.
Now we do have auto start stop, so once this light turns green, we'll see how quickly it restarts. Yeah, it restarts very quickly.
I will say with such a loud exhaust, you can kind of hear it restart, but that could probably be fixed if you didn't have the active exhaust on like we do right now.
Couple corners there, you can really tell just how athletic this is. It really hugs in tightly. And the steering is nicely weighted. It has a nice heft to it. It really responds quickly off center. Tell how quick this car is. It's incredibly fast. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the 0 to 60 that Mercedes rates it at is 4.5 seconds. But from what I've read, that's actually a conservative estimate. The testing magazines and whatnot, they have been getting closer to just 4 seconds even. So
that is insanely fast.
It's a very, very quick vehicle. Rolling down the road here at highway speeds, I have to say it's pretty comfortable. It's not any type of jarring, vibrations or anything coming into the cabin. It's actually riding very compliantly down the road. And of course the seats are fantastic as well. Yeah. So, I'm really very comfortable. I don't think you're going to be wanting for power. This thing is very quick.
Now that is why you buy a C43. Holy.
Now of course we're not going to be really pushing it or anything. As you can see, it is raining. But that's just modest acceleration. That was not even full throttle or anything like that.
Now I do want to take a moment while we're riding along here to mention that this car does come standard with a adaptive suspension in the C43 AMG model. So that does keep the ride very compliant around these corners and also very comfortable.
Right, that's one of the characteristics that can be adjusted with your drive modes, as I pointed out earlier. Speaking of the drive modes, right now we're in the individual configuration. But we'll check out some of the other drive modes here in a second. That sound is intoxicating. And the transmission, wow, it shifts so fast. Really, if you weren't a well-versed in your C-classes, I think the average person would think that this is the full-fledged C63.
Yeah.
You got the sound, you've got the fast-shifting transmission, and then of course if you're the one in the driver's seat, the steering, it's fantastic.
And this car does have adaptive steering too.
Right, it is speed sensing, so as we go faster, it does weight up and then lightens up, of course, as when you're making those parking lot maneuvers and stuff like that.
But yeah, definitely going back to the sound, this car has a unique tone. I've never really heard anything like it. We've never been in a V6 43 AMG model from Mercedes-Benz before, and it's definitely a unique sound. It doesn't sound like really anything else on the market, but that is definitely a great thing because it sounds fantastic. that right there is why you write a check for $70,000.
That's right.
I mean, just that sound, I mean, it makes it worth every penny. This car is great at absolutely everything, but that sound, oh my gosh.
Like I said, unfortunately the weather is quite crappy.
Yeah.
Back to rain after we got a few days, a couple reviews in without some rain, but we're back into the rain again.
And unfortunately it is also rush hour on a Monday night, so there is a lot of traffic. But I guess this just goes to show you, this car is everyday livable. If you buy this, it's not just for sport, it's really the best of both worlds. You can, you know, I mean, we're not even going fast, and you can still shift into that manual mode and hear the amazing sound. And it's just such a comfortable car. This is really the best of both worlds, and I truly mean that when I say that.
That's right. That really is the biggest takeaway of this car, is how much fun you can have. Like you said, like you mentioned, that's a real positive way to look at it. For sure, this is a demonstration of what you do when you have a car that you live with on a day-to-day basis. You sit in traffic, you do things like that, and I'm still having a good time.
I know. Now, as far as the pricing is concerned for the Mercedes C-Class, you're going to find pretty competitive pricing as with the other German rivals in its class. So for the base C300, which is the 2-liter 4-cylinder model, that starts at $41,400. Now, if you want the all-wheel drive system, that's going to cost you an additional $2,000 to $43,400. Now, for this top model, which is the performance version, the C43, that starts at $55,250, so that is quite a bit of a price increase. It's about $12,000 over the C300 4MATIC. And this model does come standard with the all-wheel drive system.
As well as more equipment across the lineup.
Yes. And as far as how this particular model is equipped, we still do have quite a few options on top of that $55,000 price tag. So we have the beautiful Designo white paint for $1,515, the saddle brown leather for $1,620. We have optional wheels, 19 inches for $850. We have the AMG Performance exhaust system for $1,250, heated and ventilated front seats for $450, panoramic moonroof for $1,000, the Burmester audio system for $850, an upgraded exterior lighting package for $900, the multimedia package for $2,300, the AMG Night package for $300, as well as the advanced parking assist package for $1,090. And then finally, when you add in the $995 destination charge, this particular model rings in at $68,370, which is basically as expensive as the C-Class can get, besides for going for the C63, obviously.
Right, that pretty much connects you up to the C63, so
yeah.
It gets you right into that price range where you can start to think about that if you want to go for the V8.
Well guys, we've enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2019 Mercedes C43 AMG. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.